Ruthless Radio, we on the air as promised, man. Like I've been hyping up, and it's very appropriate. We doing this show dedicated to the life, the music, the memory of Eazy-E. We have got my man live up on the line right now, who's been down with Ruthless since day one. I know you've heard this man's name. I know you've seen this man all over the internet, all over old school Eazy videos. We have got Dirty Red live up on the line. What's up, man?
What's cracking?
Man, first of all, thanks for taking time to chop it up a little bit right here, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. You know what I mean? Ain't nothing but love for y'all, man. So let's do what we do.
Well, what I got to do right now, man, like we mentioned a little bit off the air, we're doing this whole show tonight dedicated to Eazy-E, man. We're coming up on, man, it's been 14 years since my man passed.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, time flies, man. But, I mean, it seemed like yesterday, you know what I mean? His spirit's he's still around, man.
Man, that's real talk. Well, you know what, man? Let's start from the beginning right here. I know, just like I said on the intro, a lot of people know the name Dirty Red. If you could bless us, let us know how Dirty Red came into be part of the Ruthless family back in the day, man.
Well, man, I started out rapping, man, and doing my thing like, you know, junior high school, man. And I came up, you know, growing up in L.A., and then I moved out to Fontana, and I started hitting, you know, little spots out there, man, and I bumped into Above the Law at a little spot called Monopolies in Riverside.
Right.
And yeah, so they was like, yeah, you know, you look like our you know, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? Long story short, though, we all connected, man. And you know what I mean? And I let them know how I was doing. You know what I mean? And they was already, you know, at that time, you know, they had put out a record, you know what I mean, and they was doing good.
Right.
So, you know, we chopped it up, man. Long story short, I got in there with Hutch, man, and I started creating with Hutch on the Black Mafia Life album. And from there, man, he heard some stuff that I did with Hutch, and he was interested. At that particular time, NWA was just breaking up. Mm-hmm. So I fell into the studio as a freshman, you know what I mean, when Dre and Ren and Eazy and, you know what I mean, and Yella, you know what I'm saying, and they was just cutting the last NWA record. So I was in, you know, this was, you know, I always followed them, man. You know what I mean? I mean, since they put out their first music. I figured, okay, well, he got interested in some lyrics that I had did, and you know, we talked about it, and he wanted me to do some stuff with him on his new record that was, you know, that he was putting together, which was the Dr. Dre Killer album.
And that was back in about 93, well, probably about 92 back then, right? Before the album dropped in 93?
Yeah, well, it all initiated like in 91, and then within those 2 years, 93 is when we had already, you know, we had recorded and wrote and did shit, and the album was dropping.
Right.
I mean, so, you know, within from like 91 to 93 is when, you know, all of it kind of came about.
Man, well, that was like the hot time, man, and you were there at the kind of the height of the whole Eazy Dre feud, man. I mean, you're one of the few people that we've gotten to talk to, man, who was actually there behind the scenes. You know what really went on internally, man. What was the vibe like, man, just working with Eazy? I mean, did he really take the feud to heart like a lot of people have said, or did he look at it more of just like a business thing, or what was really going on behind the scenes about that time?
Well, you know, he would probably have his own stories to tell, you know what I mean? I mean, because he was the man who was actually in the middle of all the shit.
Right.
You know, from what I understood and talking to him and doing business with him and, you know, figuring out my position with the whole movement, you know, he explained to me that it was some serious, you know, business that had went down. And, you know, I mean, you know, you're talking about a lot of money, man. And when you're talking about that kind of money, I think it was pretty personal. You know what I mean? You know, I mean, we toured, man, and we went around the country. This was right at the time when, you know, Dre and Snoop had just dropped the Chronic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it was kind of like, okay, well, damn, they dropped that and we dropped this, and so we was battling. You know what I mean? Corrupting Them was freshmen coming up. You know what I mean? And Bone had just jumped on with us, and so we was, you know, it was like, okay, all of this was moving at the same time. Now he was in the middle, and he was, you know, dealing with business sides of it, while, you know, I mean, most of us, man, me, BG Knockout, Gangsta Drayster, we was all young, you know what I mean? And we was like, okay, well, but at the same time, we was, you know, we was doing our thing, and we was coming up, and E saw that. I mean, if you look at a lot of the big groups, man, today, they came through Eazy, man. All of them came through Eazy-E.
Hell
if
yeah.
you really want to be real about it, everybody did. Cube wouldn't be Cube if it wasn't for Eazy-E. Dr. Dre wouldn't be Dr. Dre if it wasn't for Eazy-E.
No, I feel you 100%. I've said it a million times up on my show, man. Eazy-E, there's no doubt that my man sat upon the highest branch of that hip-hop family tree, man. He was sitting at the very top.
Yeah, when you really boil it all down, you look at the East Coast and the West Coast, which has always been the two, heavyweights.
Right.
You know what I mean? The South has come up, and they strong too. But it's really, you talk about it, so it's always East Coast, West Coast. You look at East Coast, and you got a lot of them dudes, man, that jumped in. First, it was Russell Simmons. You know what I mean? He said, okay, well, it, I'm going to start my, I'm sorry I'm cussing on your radio, but I just, I talk.
Hey, it's all good. That's
realness, you know what I'm saying?
That's what the beat button's for, man.
Yeah, that's right. so yeah, you looked at Russell Simmons, and then you say, okay, well, he's doing things on the East Coast, and then it came E and NWA, and they was still to this day, Death Row came, through, I think, a lot of struggle and a lot of confusion.
Right.
You know what I mean? But nonetheless, they came and they made a mark. But it's always been Eazy-E and Ruthless Records and NWA and Dr. Dre and Snoop and Cube and all these other people. You know what I mean? But it all started with Ruthless Records.
I couldn't have said it better myself, man. And you just being in the thick of things, man, coming from you, that's like gold, man. That's gospel to say something like that. That's a bold statement and an absolute true statement, man.
Yeah, that's what's happening, man. Real got to recognize real, and people got to realize what's really cracking that. You know what I mean? And what's real is what's real. Unfortunately, HIV and AIDS took his life at an early age. You know what I mean? But the mark that he made up until he's an icon, man. I can walk in Virgin Records and pick up an Eazy-E hat. You know what I mean? And it say Ruthless Records on the inside of it.
Hell yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's real shit. He marketed. He was a businessman, man, and he was smart with what he did. And the coolest part about it is that he came from Compton, from the streets and the struggles of the hardest of the hardest. He came from the heart of that shit. And he blew himself up to be a multi-million-dollar businessman. And look at all the legacy left behind him.
Yeah.
Look at how big Dre is. Look at how big Cube is. Look at how big Snoop is. They all followed the same pattern, which is what he represented.
Bona fide certified success story right there.
No doubt, man. No doubt.
Well, you know what, man? We're on the line if you're just tuning in with Dirty Red, a ruthless OG from back in the day. And you know what, man? I want to talk a little bit more about you, what you got coming up with your projects right now in 2009. Of course, I want to talk about a little bit about your relationship with Eazy back in the day some more. But right now, man, how about we drop a little classic, we'll say, man, a little something where people got a taste of Dirty Red on an Eazy-E track. And I gotta say, it's one of my not just favorite Eazy joints, but one of the best diss joints of all time, in my opinion, man. A little something straight off the streets of motherfucking Compton, man. What you think?
For sure. I say give it to him. Give it to him.
What would you do? We gonna drop it right now. We live on the line with Dirty Red.